Please check the streamer. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupada Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today morning discussion and reading from Nectar of Instruction, and we're going to resume our discussion from text number 3. Before that, let's offer prayers to Sadhguru Swamis. Nana Shastra Vichane Kanipano Sahadharma Samsapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mattalikayo Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. Text 3. Ussaha nishaya dharya Tat karma pavartana Sangatyaga sato vritti Sattve bhakti prasidhyati. Somebody would like to read the translation? Krishna Chandrapur, let's begin with you. Go ahead.
There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles such as Sarvanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service.
Hare Krishna. So, a quick recap of the purpose. What we read yesterday, Srila Prabhupada begins with describing what is bhakti. Bhakti is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. It's a matter of practical activity. Then how to cultivate bhakti. Then how to acquire knowledge about bhakti. Take shelter of spiritual master like this. And then who is qualified to perform bhakti. One who is sincere. And then Prabhupada talks about the purpose of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. And then we began reading about the very first quality that Srila Rupa Goswami emphasizes to be cultivated the path of bhakti, Usaha. Prabhupada writes, one should accept this opportunity to return back to God at very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. What is enthusiasm? Prabhupada writes, enthusiasm means action. Action for whom? Krishna Artha Akhila Cheshta, only for Krishna. And then Prabhupada says, everything can be dovetailed in Krishna's service. One should not become narrow in one's activities. Not that we can serve Krishna in one way or other, we can serve in various ways, in multiple ways like this. And Prabhupada gives an example. At present, we are using a dictaphone. The materialist invented this machine intended for businessmen or writers, so mundane subject matters, but we are using it to propagate Krishna consciousness. Like that, Prabhupada talks about Usaha. Now, and then Prabhupada says, endeavor executed with intelligence. And what is the definition of Usaha? Prabhupada writes, endeavor executed with intelligence. Intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called Usaha. So action performed with intelligence. And how detailed Prabhupada is? No ambiguity about what enthusiasm is. Enthusiasm is action performed by intelligence. Intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called Usaha or enthusiasm. All right. And Prabhupada concludes the discussion on Usaha by making once again the same point. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. All right. So let's read the next paragraph. Mother Yagya, your hand is up. I hope you're able to follow where we are on the book. Start reading.
Pranam, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, could you please once mention which paragraph we have to start?
Okay, so from the purport, you'll go 1 page, 2 page, and the 3rd page. At the end of the 3rd page, the 2nd paragraph, these activities must be executed with patience. You're able to follow up? Different books will have different. I have 32. Okay, so I probably have an old book, so it says 32. If in case you have purchased recently, it will say page number 36.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
These activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them in patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence.
Hare Krishna. Well, I'd like to pause here. Please mark this, such a beautiful point. A few lines before, one should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. I like to have some discussion on this, hear different realizations. Anyone would like to share any practical case study or realization? I can give you dozens and dozens of it. This should become our, kind of any leader, any manager, in any capacity executing service. This should be the tagline for them. Don't become impatient. Continue on with depending on the mercy and Guru Garanga. If you're following, Prabhupada so many times emphasized, if somebody is following 4 regulated principles, chanting 16 rounds every day, then Krishna will reciprocate. And yeah, I mean, I can give you an example of, I believe this is Sydney, if I'm correct. Our Brahmachari ashram, how it grew up. Almost more than a decade ago, two Indians got connected there with His Holiness Devamit Swami Maharaj, if I'm correct, or somebody like that over there. And then they came for training here at Pune, Brahmachari ashram. They took a training, and here Brahmachari life means the major emphasis is morning program. Do morning program nicely, and of course, for principles to be followed. No compromise on that. So they came here for training for 6 to 8 months, and then they went back. And over a span of, let's say, 4 to 5 years, they've got more than 10 brahmacharis now in the ashram. The ashram, which really, almost at one point of time was shut down, grew up. Now, why am I talking brahmachari ashram? Because if brahmachari ashram grows, then everything around it grows. Your youth preaching grows, your congregation preaching grows, your book distribution grows, everything grows around it like that. And now I recently met 4 other brahmacharis that come here for training. Like, wow, that's a great success actually. And when asked what was your success mantra, to make brahmacharis in the West, how difficult to make devotees is difficult to make brahmacharis. So the devotee said, Prabhu, we just stuck to this formula. Follow the morning programs strictly, stay true to the morning program, follow 4 regulative principles, stay true to the character. And then we went on performing our services, and with patience, Krishna reciprocated. Depending on the mercy of Guru and Garanga, it's a case study of any and every project. Take an example of Chopati project for that reason. Take an example of Radha Sati, how His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj grew it. What was it, where it ended up now. Every project. Let's take an example of my project. Of course, my project, Prabhupada was involved, fine. I'm talking places where Prabhupada was not directly involved, physically involved. So everywhere like this, if you see it, all have grown up like this. Somebody saying something? Ujjain project. Ujjain project was a little different actually, not like this. His Holiness Bhakti Chara Swami Maharaj brought in all his resources there. It wasn't which grew up there. Maharaj already had many disciples in Brahmachari, so that's not the right example for this. Place from where it all started. I'm talking about that. Bhakti Chara Maharaj already had his disciples. He brought all his brahmacharis to one place. He had his grahasthas, so he brought his fund. He wanted to have a place to build it. But where the whole movement grew, Delhi, Radha Sati, the whole movement grew there. Chopati, the movement grew at Chopati. That's in that context I'm making. So it's very, very important. However, when a person becomes very result conscious, he becomes impatient. Or kuch nahi ho raha. Where everything starts small. Everything starts small. For example, His Holiness Swami Maharaj. Now, if you take a look at his count of yatris in the yatras, it's something around 10,000 plus. His first yatra was with 20 devotees. And most of them, it was in pant and shirt. Nobody was in dhoti kurta also. It went on for like this for 2-3 years. And then suddenly it picked up, it became 50 members and it became 100 members and 150 members. It takes a time like that. So one should not be impatient in discharging devotional service. All right, and Prabhupada, to substantiate this point, gives an example of husband and wife. You cannot expect a child overnight. And that's what Prabhupada says. Mother Yagya, read.
Yes, Prabhuji. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so we'll read now next. Ussaha, Nishya, Dharya. Prabhupada have spoken about both. Nishya means confidence and Dharya means patience. So Prabhupada have combined patience, and confidence in the same paragraph, like that. So patience, yes, and execute patience or devotional service of patience with confidence that Krishna will protect. Devotees always thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna, Hamesha, Avashya, Bhagwan Krishna Meri Raksha Karenge. Anyone wants to share or add anything to it? Any practical example? I'm pretty sure everyone would have something, or not, if not everyone, some on relation to leadership responsibilities.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, a small Juhu project is also an example of patience. How the
Oh,
land
yeah.
and
Who is speaking?
Nikhil.
Yeah, Nikhil. Oh, yes, yes. Now, Juhu project, perfect case study. I mean, if you look into it, the ISKCON is a perfect example of this. The patience and confidence of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, so like this. So this is when we talked about, is about in terms of the results manifesting through our devotion service. And similarly, the bhakti seed fructifying into the creeper for our own bhakti, that also follows in the same way, like this. All right. Next, tat tat karma pravartana, following the rules and regulations. Anyone else like to read it now? We can have the raise of hands. We can call. Okay, Mother Priyanka, your hand is up, I believe. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
As already explained, one should not be idle, but should be very enthusiastic about executing the regulative principle tat tat karma parvardhana. Neglect of the regulative principle will destroy devotional service. In this Krishna consciousness, there are 4 basic regulative principles: forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. A devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. If he becomes slack in following any recommend, tat tat karma parvartana, one if one becomes slack in following any of these, his progress will certainly be checked. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommended tat tat karma parvartanat. One should strictly follow the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. In addition to these 4 prohibition yama, there are positive regulative principles niyama, such as the daily chanting of 16 rounds of japa mala bead. These regulative activities must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. This is called tat tat karma parvardhana, or varied engagements in devotional service. Furthermore, in order to be
Hare Krishna. Yeah, this is done. The next subject goes. So to practice this rules and regulation with enthusiasm, different facilities are created. Just like yesterday, we renewed our group title as Bhakti Now. Many times devotees have shared their experience that when they saw that how devotees were posting that, just like yesterday, some devotees posted we chanted 108 rounds. So even I was like, "Arey, wow, oh, that's good, I should chant, why to say the 64 rounds ho gaye, but that's it, So actually when we come together and practice, so okay, let me make this point. Somehow we greatly miss this out. Both, I would say, in a brahmachari and the grahastha. Brahmachari still are enforced to do it. Grahasthas somehow miss it out and they take it for granted. It's extremely important to have certain visible sadhana, that helps build confidence of the community. Visible sadhana means to come together and practice, to imagine and expect that the leader would understand your spiritual advancement and maturity and practice, just because I'm practicing so nicely, that's okay. But what about the rest of the community? It's not only about one's own personal advancement, but by practicing very nicely, we also set a very good example for others. So therefore, we should try, if possible, to come together. Of course, wherever you all are seated, in different places. For example, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj very strongly emphasizes that all of his disciples should at least visit one temple every week. There should be one temple program like that. And ideally, it is best if there could be one morning program together. That's not too much to ask. Somehow it has become too difficult to practice today. Okay, Monday to Friday, you have a job. Saturday, spend a time with family. At least Sunday morning can come together. But when it becomes a kind of a lifestyle to get up late or whatever it is, okay, so important, particularly anyone who is taking up service or who wants a service in relationship to taking care of others, in relationship of any public address of Krishna consciousness, like giving Bhagavatam class, even starting a home program. These are leadership responsibilities. They must compulsory have a visible sadhana. They should follow an accountability. There should be an accountability in charge who knows what is their practice. Unless we are very sure about one spiritual practice, such responsibility should not be handed down. It leads to issues later on. So tat karma pravartana. If one himself is not executing the regulative principles strictly, as Prabhupada says, very enthusiastically. Imagine when he is reading Prabhupada books, what would he tell his subordinates? What message would you convey? And even if you convey, would it make any difference? Won't it make any difference? Now people will think, भाई आपको तो कभी देखा नहीं हमने मॉर्निंग प्रोग्राम में, आपको तो कभी हमने 16 माला नाम जब बैठते हुए टेंपल में कभी देखा नहीं. So very important. So accountability as well as visible sadhana. Many times people ask me, Prabhu ji, hum class denge, Prabhu ji, hum home program shuru karenge. I say, where is your accountability sheet? Where is your visible sadhana? How many times in the last 1 month or last 1 year have you come and chanted with us? Does any proof is there? You do anything at your home, how does it, how do I know of it? Okay, so we should be. All right, so that's about Tatkat Karma Pravartanat, the fourth quality. Now comes Jana Sangha, giving up worldly association. Okay, Nitai Pran Prabhu, please read the next paragraph.
Am I audible enough?
Yes, good.
Furthermore, in order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. This includes karmis, jnanis, yogis, and other non-devotees. Once, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his householder devotee about the general principle of Vaishnavism, as well as the general routine activities of a Vaishnava. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, Asakta Sangya Tyaga, a Vaishnava Acharya. Characteristically, a Vaishnava is one who gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. Sri Narottam Das Thakur has therefore recommended Taneditra Charana Sevi Bhakti Sanhe Vasaha. One has to live in the company of pure devotees and execute the regulative principles laid down by the previous acharyas, the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. If one lives in the association of devotees, there is little chance of associating with non-devotees. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principle of spiritual life.
Haribol, thank you. Again, a very, very important subject matter here. Jana Sangha, giving up the association of worldly people. Prabhupada says the best way to give up the association of worldly people is to live in the association of devotees. Therefore, now the emphasis of the GBC body at large, or maybe I can say the leadership at large, probably not now, for a while now, maybe for a long time now, is to actually not build a standalone temple, but to build a communities. A sustainable community in one sense. So sustainable is a big word, let's say about community, at least a community wherein you have a temple and then you have in the neighborhood of that temple, you have congregation. So there is some opportunity for regular sadhu sangha and association with the deities, temple programs. Otherwise, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Krishna Chandra, I would like to hear from you. You have been around for more than almost 2-3 decades. You would have seen all kinds of congregation come and go. Some came and stayed. Why they stayed? Some came and had all the potential to stay, but never stayed. You would have seen all the ups and downs. Please share your experiences.
Generally, Prabhu, those people who came and they left and never came back or hesitant to come back, there could be some kind of, I mean, I can't say they did an offense, but number one, I think lack of association. That is the big thing when they come. You can come to the temple and associate, but you need to associate with the right-minded people. So when you don't associate with right-minded people, then what happens is you might get swayed away because it's a community, Prabhu. You can't please everybody. Some will be favorable, some will be not happy with the management, some will be not be happy. So you have to be always like birds of feather flock together. So you got to be together with devotees who are always enthusiastic in performing devotional service.
But here the challenge comes. The birds of same feather flocks together. Another extension of this meaning is the neophyte likes the company of other neophytes.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you mix around, like Srila Prabhupada said, that if you want to be in business and you want to make profit, you go to the stock exchange and everybody will share. So even among devotees, you have different categories of devotees. So you got to discriminate. Of course, we have to associate devotees, but at the end of the day, we have to look after our own spiritual life. So when
go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
When your spiritual life is, then you tend to spread your vibes and good energy to the rest,
And what Krishna Chandra Prabhu is saying is so important that Srila Rupa Goswami actually decided to document the same, very same fact that Krishna Chandra Prabhu is talking about the gradations of devotees in the same book, NOI. In the 5th verse, we'll read about it, the gradations of devotees. So if I want to quantify this thing, because quantification a little bit helps, it's not a standard rule, but if I have to quantify, I would say for the first several years of a devotional practice, devotional life, our most important relationship should be with the senior.
Yes.
That is from where we are drawing our inspiration and instructions and all suggestions. Don't go into the peer association too much. It's very risky because our peer association that time is only peer association of Kanishtas, all coming from varied mindset, perspectives, objectives, interest, desires for practicing Krishna consciousness. I'll tell you frankly, not many times, I just had a recent experience with one individual. He just connected with ISKCON so that he can get business. He'll come and do some service. He has a business and he knows that if I'm connected with ISKCON and it's a tourist place and I am a tour operator, I have a lot of vehicles. So if I come and do some service, definitely, people here will consider me as a devotee, and any request for any tour will come, they will definitely recommend my name. So he makes ISKCON a free marketing agency for him. And what he does, once in a week, he comes, does half an hour service. And changing the externals is very easy. What's a big deal? एक तिलक लगाने में, गले में माला डालने में कौन सी बड़ी चीज है? But now imagine what amount of business you get it. So like that, we have to be careful. Not that every peer association is helpful. So for our first few good years, number of years, our strength, everything should be drawn from senior association. And then when you yourself become senior and mature in Krishna consciousness, then the strength comes from peer association. That time peer association makes, of course, senior association continues, but that time senior association may become a little limited. So then peer association becomes very valuable. Krishna Chandra, you want to add something?
I want to say one last thing. However progressive you are, you have to be very prayerful to your Lordship to keep ourselves in the association of devotees.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I will personally tell you that this is my prayer whenever I go to the temple. I said, I want to be in the association of devotees. Otherwise, you're gone,
Absolutely. This is an example of sincerity.
Sorry. Yeah, it's just my pure realization. I'm just sharing.
No, I'm making a point on that. This is an example of sincerity. Only when you're sincere enough, then only you make such a prayer about it now. Understanding the value of bhakti That's what Prabhupada begins with this verse like that. The rarity of bhakti, understanding how rare this bhakti is and how great difficulty we have received. And there Prabhupada says the qualification to receive bhakti is sincerity. A sincere heart, a seeker would make this prayer. Whatever happens, don't ever take me away from the association of devotees. Correct. So Janasangha, we are surrounded by Janasangis. And now we have to give up that association and come in the association of devotees. A prayer is definitely needed. And after coming in the association of devotees, now you have to make double prayer to allow you to stay in the association of devotees and tolerate everything that happens around further association of devotees. Some frictions, Krishna Chandra probably yesterday mentioned about it. You have to tolerate, some management issues will happen, some leadership issues will happen. You have to tolerate that. Don't start saying that, oh, but devotees also do like this. Well, that's okay. It's okay. Don't quit it. Okay. Anyone else want to add it to this? Janasangha. Yeah, a lot can be said about this. Let's hear from anyone else who would like to say. Giving up a Janasangha. We talked about taking association. Anything about giving away Janasangha? Any thoughts on that? Yes, Abhishek Prabhu.
Along with people, it's like you always mentioned, the association of information also, like news.
Okay, you're not audible, right? Okay. Is Abhishek Prabhu audible?
Not very clear, Prabhu.
Not very clear. Okay. So,
the association of news, unnecessary.
All right. So Abhishek Prabhu is making a point. Janasangha is not only a person, Janasangha is also information. So we should keep a distance from too much worldly news. Very good point. What other kind of Janasangha? Have a parental control on your smartphone. Is a prime source of Janasangha. Is a prime source of association. All right, like this. Another thing, just kind of a little disclaimer to say that here in the initial phases of a devotional life, when we are learning, when you're really in initial learning stages, is a little advice to a little bit keep it private. Don't disclose it to your most intimate members, and that refers to your family members, because at times that family relationship itself becomes Janasangha. Not that I'm not saying they are Gyanis, yogis, or karmis. I'm not making that point here, but they're not devotees. If they're not devotees, then they come into either of the category. And because we all are born and brought up into a very atheistic environment, so even if they have some amount of theistic idea, the theistic idea is highly sentimental. At large, they would say, ठीक है बेटा, हमें तुम्हारे भक्ति मार्ग से कोई परेशानी नहीं है, पर ये क्या कोई एज है? How many of you would agree? Your parents will say that. क्या कोई ये एज है भक्ति करने की? हमारी एज पे आके करो, तो पूछ लो, आप क्यों नहीं भक्ति करते? हम तो कर रहे हैं, तुम हमें भक्ति सिखाओगे? इतने सालों से करते आए हैं. It's an endless debate. So in the beginning days, you have to understand that becomes the Janasangha. Sangha Tyagata. All right. Now, Sato Vritti. All right, Nikhil Prabhu. Go ahead, read. Hey, Sudhir Prabhu, बाइक चलाते चलाते पढ़ोगे यार तुम. हेलमेट लगा के बाइक चला के हाथ उठा रखा है.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, you have a question.
Prabhuji, regarding Janasangha, and you said about family being other non-devotee, I experienced this in, I want to share with all the devotees that I experienced in this tour only, this yatra, that previous yatras, I never missed any of your lectures and any of your Sangha. But this time I had to sacrifice a lot, which I really feel to have missed many things after seeing the recording and the photos. So it is really, even with family, sometimes you have to be a little selfish and be with devotees only.
So the Prabhu is getting ready for sannyas ashram now. He's getting the realization. So Prabhu, that's okay. You were trying to help your family second half to take the Krishna consciousness. Don't worry, we have recorded everything for you. Will be shared everything by the end of day today. Okay. Sudeep Prabhu felt it so important to share. He stopped his bike on the highway and thought of sharing. Okay. Very, very sincere person. Thank you, Sudeep Prabhu. All right. Who was reading? Nikhil Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Pranam.
And
Devotional service means transcendental activities. On the transcendental platform, there is no contamination by the three modes of material nature. This is called Vishuddha Sattva, the platform of pure goodness or goodness free from contamination by the qualities of passion and ignorance. In this Krishna consciousness movement, we require everyone to rise early in the morning by 4 a.m. and attend Mangal Aarti or morning worship, then read Srimad Bhagavatam, perform Kirtan, and so forth. Thus, we hold continuous activities in devotional service 24 hours daily. This is called Sato Vritti, or following in the footsteps of the previous Acharyas, who expertly filled every moment of time with Krishna conscious activities. If one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely being enthusiastic, being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, following the regulative principles, and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotional service. In this regard, Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur remarks that the cultivation of knowledge by philosophical speculation, the collection of mundane opulence by the advancement of fruitive activities, and the desire for yoga siddhis, material perfections, are all contrary to the principles of devotional service. One has to become thoroughly callous to such non-permanent activities and turn his intention instead to the regulative principles of devotional service.
Hare Krishna. I just want to interrupt for a second. Very important point. One has to become thoroughly callous, which means indifferent to such non-permanent activities, which means fruitive advancement, activities, acquiring more possessions, everything, related to body, and in fact to the mind. Thoroughly callous to such non-permanent activities and turn his intention instead to the regulative principles of devotional service. What are the regulative principles of devotional service? Well, you can call as the 64 principles described by Srila Rupa Goswami, and that you can kind of summarize as the 9 limbs of bhakti: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pad, Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. So our mind should be in this direction. And Prabhupada quotes a very famous verse: Yanisha Sarva Bhutana Tasyam Jagrati Samyame Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani Sa Nisha Pashyato Munhe. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Beautiful, beautiful verse actually. Anyways, okay, Nikhil Prabhu, continue. Next paragraph.
Engagement in the devotional service of the Lord is the life and soul of the living entity. It is the desired goal and supreme perfection of human life. One has to become confident about this, and one also has to be confident that all activities other than devotional service, such as mental speculation, fruitive work, or mystic endeavor, will never yield any enduring benefit. Complete confidence in the path of devotional service will enable one to attain his desired goal, but attempting to follow other paths will only succeed in making one restless. In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, one must be calmly convinced that those who have given up devotional service to engage in severe austerities for other purposes are not purified in their minds, despite their advanced austerities, because they have no information of the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is
खूबसूरत बात प्रभुपाद लिखते हैं ना. One must be calmly convinced. Not only convinced, calmly convinced. डिस्टर्ब मत हो, ये मत सोचो कि बहुत तपस्या कर रहा है तो बहुत प्रगति कर रहा है. Relax, be convinced, nothing gonna happen. They ain't gonna get purified. Chill out. That's the point I'm making. Yeah. Engagement in the devotions of the Lord is the life and soul of the living entity. All right. Please read the next paragraph.
It is further stated in the 7th canto, although mental speculators and fruitive actors may perform great austerities and penances, they still fall down because they do not have information about the lotus feet of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord, however, never fall down. In Bhagavad Gita 9:31, the Supreme Personality of God had assures Arjuna, Kaunteya prati janehi na me bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Again in Bhagavad Gita 2:40, Krishna says, Neha vikramanashosti pratyevayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhyat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
Hare Krishna. So that's a point Prabhupada is talking about. Now Prabhupada is building up confidence on the process of bhakti. After describing about the 6 qualities to be cultivated, Ussaha Nishadharya Tatat Karma Pavatana Sangatyagat Satu Vritti. Now Prabhupada is building again confidence on the process of bhakti. And to do that, Srila Prabhupada quoted first from the 7th canto, like this statement. And then Prabhupada quoted Neha Bikramo Nashasti from Bhagavad Gita, that even a tiny endeavor can protect one from the greatest danger, like this. That's how Prabhupada is now building up the subject matter. The theme of discussion now is the glory of devotional service. That's what is going on. All right, Mother Anjana, please read ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcibly dragged to ultimate success.
Wow,
Sometimes
what are statements? Please highlight. Devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcefully dragged to ultimate success. Actually, this is the meaning of Kaunteya prati janihi name bhakta pranashyati. A devotee never falls down. Why? You're forcefully dragged. To what? To ultimate success. Fantastic, isn't it? What a statement. Please go ahead.
sometimes a person will give up his ordinary material engagements and out of sentiment take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and thus begin the preliminary execution of devotional service. Even if such an immature devotee falls down, there is no loss on his part. On the other hand, what is the gain of one who executes the prescribed duties according to his varna and ashrama but does not take to devotional service? Although a fallen devotee may take his next birth in a low family, his devotional service will nonetheless resume from where it left off. Devotional service is ahituki aparatihata. It is not the effect of any mundane cause, nor can it be terminated by any mundane cause or permanently curtailed by any material interruption. Therefore, a devotee should be confident about his engagement and should not be very interested in the activities of the karmis, jnanis, and yogis.
Hare Krishna. So what do? We just have one. Okay, we can take it. All right, I'll read the next one. So Mother Anjana was just reading about the glory of devotional service. The glory is such one is forcefully dragged to ultimate success. Okay, next paragraph. There are certainly many good qualities among fruitive actors, philosophers, speculators, and mystic yogis. But all good qualities automatically develop in the character of a devotee. No extraneous endeavor is needed, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam Yasyasi Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana. Even like that, because the devotee is not interested in any material activity, does not become materially contaminated. So, in what situation we don't become materially contaminated? When we have lost interest in material activity. At that point only. He is immediately situated on the platform of transcendental life. However, one who engages in mundane activity, be so Jnani, yogi, karmi, philanthropist, nationalist, or whatever, cannot attain the highest stage of Mahatma. He remains a Duratma, a cripple-minded person. Therefore, Bhagavad says, Mahatmanastu mam partha Devam prakritamashitaha Vajanti ananaya manaso Gyatva bhutadim avyayam. O Sarapata, those who are not deteriorated, the great soul under the protection of the divine nature, they are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as a supreme personality Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Since all the devotees of the Lord are under the protection of His supreme potency, they should not deviate from the path of devotional service and take to the path of the karmis, jnanis, or yogis. This is called Sahan Nishaya Dharyat Tat Tat Karma Pavartanat, enthusiastically executing the regular principles, activities of devotional service with patience and confidence. In this way, one can advance in devotional service without hindrance. Hare Krishna. So, how many of you find it a little difficult to apply? Don't get caught up into the actions and activities of karmi, jnanis, and yogis. Very difficult. It's not that easy, actually. Because of having a conditioned nature and our desires, we again and again get distracted in such an endeavors. Somebody wants to work harder to acquire more wealth. Somebody wants to read many books to acquire more knowledge so that the presentation becomes very attractive for the public. Public speaking is good, but public speaking could be very dangerous also. For those who are very knowledgeable in all kind of stories and all kind of jokes and all kind of mundane affairs, can you think about it? What their head will be filled with? It's very, very dangerous. So some can do it, does not mean that everyone should do it. We should be careful of that. And those particularly, those speakers who are speaking largely for public audience, we should be careful not to hear them, because then we develop the habit of imitating. Because at the end of the day, who dislike Puja La Pratishtha? Isn't it? We also think, and we then mistakenly tag, thinking that, because this devotee is able to speak to large audience in public. Well, we'll believe that if you're speaking core Krishna conscious philosophy, but you're bringing all kind of jokes and all kind of mundane stories, somehow here and there trying to fit in some Krishna conscious conclusions. What's the difference between you and, let's say, many other motivational speakers who are outside? So to tag them saying that they are the truly blessed recipient of the mercy of Guru, I am not denying that, but I'm only denying the fact. To say that they are only truly blessed recipient of Guru's mercy is incorrect. Like that. That's just the result of their karma. But they have been allowed, some devotees have been allowed to do so. There are so many devotees up on the social media now. Hopefully they have taken permission and they're working under the guidance of the seniors. It's working for them does not necessarily mean this is what you're supposed to do it. To fill our mind with so much trash, which is already full of trash, and then add all these mundane stories, that could be a little dangerous, a little risky. Like this, similarly, reading too many books, too many Puranas, too many Itihasas, too many things is very dangerous, very dangerous. It can really, really hamper the seed of bhakti. Why? Well, these are the people who begin to have doubts on Srila Prabhupada's writings. We've had our own share of controversies. Did we fell from the spiritual world, or we were here, back to Godhead or not Godhead? So many other subject matters like this. So yeah. So that's the point. The point I was trying to make is to practice is very difficult. That's the point. And I just give you some reasons why it becomes difficult. Because we have variety. Earlier it was okay. Even during Prabhupada time, it was okay. Today is far much more dangerous and difficult because we didn't have much association of people outside of our neighborhood. We only associate with those devotees. Now sitting in, let's say, I've said this before, sitting in Pune, somebody might be hearing from lecture from somewhere in New Zealand, Brisbane, South Africa, international lectures, which may not necessarily be spoken for your particular cultural setup. It's a different cultural setup like this. You know, if it is a Srimad Bhagavatam class, fine, that's okay, because Prabhupada has set a standard. But if it is not a Bhagavatam class, we should be a little careful about it. Who is the audience, for whom has been spoken? And then we say, oh, अरे वो तो senior भक्त थे, वरिष्ठ भक्त थे, उन्होंने lecture दिया तो अच्छा ही होगा. Yeah, but sometimes we do have to speak certain things for certain audience. We might have to a little bit cover, not openly speak about Krishna conscious, hardcore Krishna conscious philosophy for a certain audience. So we have to be careful. So therefore, this becomes a little tricky, a little difficult to practice. Ussaha nishadharya tat karma pravatana sanga tyagat sato vritti sadbir bhakti prasiddhati. So sometimes sato vritti, following in the footsteps. So somebody has become a social media tycoon, I should also become a social media tycoon. Why? Sato vritti, following in the footsteps of previous social media acharyas. You know, yeah, it's a fact. I know, some time ago, a young man deciding to dedicate his life. He lived in the ashram. He changed. He said, I'm going out. I said, why? Public को बहुत requirement है. किस चीज की? हमारे motivational talk की. So I said, when there are already so many motivations, you go, why do you want to go? No, I'm gonna go and present Krishna conscious motivational talk. So I just met him some time ago. I don't know how many people got motivated by him. He definitely got motivated motivational speakers. He has a big long hairs now. He was sipping a coffee day, etc. So I said, what happened? He said, you know what? At times to speak to that audience, you have to become like them. मैंने कहा तेरा तो हो गया. You know, a little risky like that. So Hare Krishna. So anyways, to conclude on the subject matter, this is an age-old advice given by Srila Rupa Goswami, and we need to become a little bit conservative in our own personal life while practicing this, which means to protect our bhakti seed, we should be a little bit careful of whom do we associate, how do we associate, what we learn, what we don't learn, a little bit. Otherwise, these things will become a little tricky and confusing like that. So with this, I'll pause here. I kind of went 7-8 minutes overboard. Any concluding thoughts anyone has? When we meet tomorrow, not tomorrow, today is Thursday? Okay, so tomorrow we'll have our Bhagavatam class, third canto we are reading, right? Some chapter, I also don't remember which chapter going on. I'll take a look at the last time recording. We'll continue from there, our Srimad Bhagavatam. And Saturday morning, we'll resume our NOI class. And following week, I'm traveling to, I believe, Vijayawada for a week. So it will not be possible for me to have this morning sessions. So next session would be on Saturday, and we're going to read some very beautiful verse now. And it will be about how to relate with devotees, loving exchanges. Dadati pratigranati guyamakyati prachati Vankate bojatai chaiva sadvidhi pratilakshanam. प्रेम के लक्षण क्या होते हैं, आप श्रील रूप गोस्वामी उसके पर चर्चा करेंगे, और फिर प्रेम के लक्षण बताने के बाद चर्चा करेंगे भक्त किस प्रकार के होते हैं और शुद्ध भक्तों को किस दृष्टिकोण से देखना चाहिए या नहीं देखना चाहिए. टेक्स्ट नंबर 5, 3 प्रकार के भक्त. टेक्स्ट नंबर 6, how do we understand and how do we deal with the pure devotees of the Lord. Drashte sabhava janatis, like that the shlok goes like this. And then the 7th verse, after describing all about relationships, comes chanting of the holy name. Like this the progression goes of this very, very beautiful book. All right. Hare Krishna. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Rupa Goswami ki, Shri Upadeshamrita ki. Hare Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining in.